I would consider myself a pretty cautious person. My husband would call it paranoid and overdramatic, but agree to disagree. But I get it from my mom. She's really loving, don't get me wrong, but sometimes I think she just loves us too much. And by loves, I mean worries. So my mom, she worries quite a bit, and when anything happens, like if my brother and I were really late coming home from something, or if she would text us and we wouldn't reply within an hour, she goes into this character that I like to call worst case scenario mom. You probably have a mom like this. If you don't, you're missing out, okay? She has this thing that she goes into. I remember one time specifically, my brother was 2 hours past curfew. And that's all it took. All of a sudden, she went into worst case scenario mom. And then the pacing. And she's like, where is your brother? It's 2 hours past curfew. What has happened to him? Why hasn't he called? What if he got in a car accident? And then this is when the irrational side of worst case scenario mom comes out. What if he got in a car accident into a ditch, and what if a bear found him? What? Mom, we live in Milwaukee. The only way that a bear could find him is if he was joyriding around the Milwaukee County Zoo and drove into the bear habitat. It's the only way. Now, I wouldn't put it past my brother. He was a crazy kid, and I was a good one. But she was upset the entire night. So then one snowy night, I come home, and she looks like she's been crying. And I said, Mom, what is wrong? She's like, it's snowing outside. All I hear is sirens. Every siren I hear, I think it's you in the ambulance going to the hospital. I'm like, Mom, I was just at the mall for like an hour. It's not a big deal. And she's like, well, what if you would have gotten stranded on the side of the road and had a heart attack or busted your spleen or died of cancer? Really, Mom? Really? I'm fine. And I called her last week and told her I was writing this joke because I wanted to warn her. And as I'm driving, the cell phone lost service. And one of the joys of living out in the middle of nowhere is that you don't pick up another tower for like 5 minutes. So I called her 5 minutes later, and I don't even say hello. The first thing I say to her is, you thought I died in a car accident, didn't you? She's like, well, yes, why didn't you call me back right away? And I'm like, Mom. She's like, you don't understand. You won't understand until you have kids. And I was like, actually, I don't have to wait till I have kids, because you've ingrained this in me now, and it's become part of my being. And I found this out last weekend when my in-laws came to stay with us for a wedding at our house. Now, we expected them back late, but when I woke up to pee at 1 a.m. in the morning, and they weren't home yet, it happened. Worst case scenario, Holly. I started pacing. Where could they be? They're old. Why would they be out this late? It's way past their bedtime. What if they got in a car accident? What if their cell phones are dead? What if they're scared and in a ditch? And then I ran into my husband and I shook him and I said, babe, are there any bears in Tennessee? I have a cat named Zeke, and he freaked me out the other day because I went in to scoop his litter and he was peeing blood. Freaked me out. I try not to overreact as a cat owner, so I calmly said to my husband, oh my gosh, we have to take the cat to the hospital right now. We have to take him right now to the 24-hour vet. He was like, okay. So $147 later, the vet says, oh, your cat has a bladder infection, and prescribes some painkillers and some antibiotics. And I was like, okay, Doc, what can I do to keep this from happening again? Like, what do you think caused this? And she said, well, and I quote, your cat is very stressed. What? He's a cat. He sleeps 20 hours a day in my bed. I feed him. I give him water daily. He doesn't even have to pick up after his own pee and poop. There's at least 6 times during the day where I'm serving at a restaurant making $2.13 an hour where I think, I wish I was a cat. But on the way home, I started to think, well, maybe I'm just being insensitive. Maybe my cat really is stressed out, right? So when we get home, I sit down with my cat, who's now doped up on painkillers and antibiotics, and I say, Zeke, buddy, what's stressing you out? And he turned to me, and the funniest thing happened, he started talking to me. Admittedly, I may have taken some of his pain medicine. And I could tell he really thought about it, and then he looked at me and he said, you don't feed me every time you come into the kitchen. When you come in the kitchen, that's when I'm supposed to get fed. And when you come in the kitchen and you don't feed me, I think you're going to starve me. And then he said, it's really difficult to decide if I want to pee on your expensive jeans that you've left on the floor, or if I should make the effort to jump on the bed and pee on your pillow. Well. And then he said, it's really stressful to choose how to wake you up at 5:30 in the morning. Really stressful. I don't know if I should pounce on your face and bat at your head, or just sit outside the door and cry incessantly. And then he said, the other day you left 3 empty Amazon boxes in the living room. I didn't know which one to sleep in. I went from box to box to box to box. There was no rest. It was so stressful. I was like, geez, buddy. You guys, I didn't really talk to my cat. It's part of the joke, don't worry. Incidentally, I did put him on some Xanax, though. So, that's strong.